What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. In today's video, I want to talk about the alleged New York Jets' most important contract extension. That is a story that was run. Ryan Fowler wrote an article for Bleacher Report on each team's most important contract extensions that still need to get done. And for the New York Jets, I thought he used someone that maybe, at least to me, was a surprise answer. Maybe to the casual fan or someone who is just looking at it from a national perspective, I understand how they came up with DJ Reed, spoiler, as the player for this one. But I'm going to kind of talk through why I don't necessarily agree with it. Ironically, I did a video on this topic essentially a week ago talking about the New York Jets and a tough decision that they have to make between whether they want to pay DJ Reed or Michael Carter. And I went back and forth. And if you want to see, the reasoning behind each one, you can go back and watch that video. But I ended up coming to the conclusion that I would pay Michael Carter, the slot corner, over DJ Reed. And a big reasoning behind that was for a few different things. Number one, Michael Carter is younger than DJ Reed. And unfortunately for corners, usually when they're approaching 30 years old or hit 30 years old, they begin to fall off. There are some outliers to that, obviously, like in anything. But for me, I think it makes sense to pay the younger drafted player and the one that's going to be significantly cheaper. Slot corners at most are making $10, $11 million a year. DJ Reed is probably going to get $15 million plus on a new deal. Now, I don't want this to turn into that I don't like DJ Reed. That is very, very far from the actual truth. I do like DJ Reed. I thought when the Jets signed him that it was an underrated signing. I thought he was a really good player in Seattle coming on, entering his prime. The Jets got him when he was 26. And he's been everything you could have possibly asked for and more for the Jets. It's just, this is the unfortunate part of the business side of the NFL. From a talent perspective and from just wanting to keep him around because he's a good guy, yeah, I would love for DJ Reed to continue to be with the New York Jets for a few more years after this, after his current contract expires. But the challenge for the Jets is they have the 2022 NFL draft class coming up for extensions. They can't be extended this year, which is why none of those guys were listed. Like you didn't see Sauce Gardner or Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall, any of those guys, because they're not eligible for contract extensions yet. But after this season, they are. And Sauce Gardner, I think, ends up being the first one that gets paid. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson have to make decisions on them and your best course of action and all that stuff. But that's going to have to start happening in 2025. Now, as I mentioned, outside corner is significantly more expensive than slot corner. And for Sauce Gardner, I think he is going to get at an absolute floor $22 million a year. He is probably going to get closer to 25, which would make him the highest paid corner in football. He deserves it. He is the best cornerback in football. To me, it's him and Patrick Surtain in a league of their own right now. I think those two are by far the best corners. The highest paid corner right now per year on an average annual value is Jair Alexander at $21 million. So that is why I have him coming in at just beating him at $22 million, somewhere in that range as the floor. And then I think you can get it up as high as $25 million. So with that in mind, if Sauce Gardner is going to be making, let's split the difference. Let's just even say $24 million here, somewhere in that range. Can you afford to pay another 15 for DJ Reed? That is a lot of money allocated to outside corner. And yes, they are arguably one of the best duos in football. You add in Michael Carter in the slot as a trio. I don't think it gets any better than that. But it becomes significantly more challenging when you're trying to build out the rest of the roster. Robert Saleh gets a lot of grief from Jet fans, and some of it's very well deserved. I will not lie. I think Robert Saleh definitely deserves criticism for some of how he's handled his time with the New York Jets, the media, and how his teams performed, all that. Fair. I do think he deserves criticism. But something where he deserves some credit is for his development and for this regime's development of players on the defensive side of the ball. If there was a positional group where I would think the Jets could be able to find a replacement cornerback too for someone who maybe isn't in the elite of like a DJ Reed, who's one of the better CB2s in football, but could be a solid number 2 option and a solid running mate for Sauce Gardner. I think the Jets could do it and do it, on the cheap in comparison. So the Jets drafted Quantez Stiggers in the 2024 NFL draft. They also have Brandon Eccles, who this staff really likes a lot. I'm wondering if they want to go internal option. Those two both seem like the most likely, scenarios for the New York Jets if they were to go with an in-house option. Or they could go into the 2025 NFL draft and look to draft a corner early on and get them on a cheap contract, either in the first or second round, get them on a cheap deal, plug them in, and have them as a cheap starter, for the first 4 years of their career, as Sauce Gardner is getting paid like the number 1 corner in football that he is. So there are different ways for the Jets to go about this. And once again, want to reiterate, I really like DJ Reed. This is not me saying that he's overrated or that he's done something wrong with the Jets. That's really not the case. I think he's been absolutely fantastic since coming to the New York Jets. Again, it's just unfortunately part of the process. Now, if you were to ask me this question, I would have thought that they would have come up with a different answer. I would have thought that they would have said Hassan Reddick, because that feels a little bit more immediate even than DJ Reed. And, I don't necessarily think the Jets have to rush to do it. And maybe that's why they didn't come to the Hassan Reddick conclusion. But I feel like, the contract dispute was very well public, and he was not at mandatory minicamp or not at voluntary OTAs, and there was the picture of him in Japan, and like, not that he's not allowed to go to Japan, it was just something that was blown way out of proportion, go figure. But I would have thought that Hassan Reddick would have been an answer. And honestly, what my answer would be, I would pick Michael Carter, the Jets slot corner, because again, I think he is a top 3 slot corner in the sport, and probably do a 3 or 4 year extension at $10 or $11 million a year. And that would make him the highest paid slot corner in football, as he deserves it. And again, like, it would not in comparison be a DJ Reed contract or what an outside corner would get paid and how much they would get paid. So anyway, I get it. It's a very difficult conversation to have. Some Jet fans aren't going to like the idea of DJ Reed testing free agency. It just seems like that's the inevitable here. Who knows? Maybe something gets done and it's like a team-friendly deal, and then we could all, be very happy and laud Joe Douglas over it. I just don't think that's what's going to end up happening here, but who knows? Who knows? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Is DJ Reed the most important contract extension for the New York Jets? Is it someone else? Reddick, Michael Carter, a name that I haven't mentioned? Let me know in the comments. I am Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I will catch you next time.